somebody who says is a senator representing FCT. All when tested is you want to be invited, what job have you done? Ordinarily, as a senator representing the FCT and members of the House of Reps who are the FCT should make a special claim from the federal government. This is the capital of the country. Let me finish. There must be a special intervention for the federal capital. But that's nothing like that.
You're at a good place to make that request.
No. That's why, as a senator, as members of the House of Reps, in the National Assembly, you start from there. Let people understand that, yes, you are really speaking on their behalf.
Have you approached the senator to work with her?
Yeah, I don't need to approach you. You went and said you want to go to Senate. You want to say you want to go to House of Representatives. Therefore, you should know the role you should play. It is not only coming to national television. He's not inviting me for commission of project. He's not inviting me for us to have a drink. That is not the job we're talking about. You're playing to the gallery. Urban planning. How do you provide infrastructure without urban planning? It's unfortunate that we are not engaging with stakeholders. How would he know what we engage stakeholders? We are aware that when we came on board, it has never happened that we have to visit all the 6 area councils, where we start with the youths, start with traditional rulers, start with the women. And that was the first time that the stakeholder will say, look, this is our major priority. You also remember how the Youth Secretariat was created by Mr. President. How the Women's Secretariat was created. It was never in existence in Abuja. It was as a result of international with stakeholders, which are carried to Mr. President. Mr. William approved the creation of this secretariat. So when people talk about non-engagement of stakeholders, who are the stakeholders? I hope you don't say a stakeholder is somebody who will be shouting on national television that I'm not inviting him or her. That is not correct. That is not correct. So the engagement of stakeholders, I'm happy when anyone likes to want to say infrastructure. Who are those you are using the roster? What drives the economy of any country? What makes investors to come to say, look, we're willing to invest? Will an investor come and provide infrastructure? Will an investor come and provide roads? When these things are not in place, it will not encourage anybody to come. Because these are the primary things first that an investor will see and say, yes, I want to establish an institution here. Is there any access to that? I want to establish a private hospital here. Are there roads? I want to set up a manufacturer. I want to do mechanized agric. I agree. Are there access roads in case that will bring in this produce to the city? So people just, for purposes of criticizing where they don't have anything to say. I will use one local thing we normally say in my place. And pardon me to say that. My people say, if you don't have anything to say, hear somebody. You use one like we say as him be. Because you have nothing to say. I mean, you must appreciate when a government has done well. You don't need to like the person in charge. By the grace of God, you have thought of an infrastructure revolution in Abuja. That means the government of Mr. President is working. At least, let's take from here. There are problems. Within 2 years, where has it happened? This is a government that inherited so much problems. And we are doing all our best, taking time to fix them. And suddenly within 2 years, something you have not done for 10 years, 20 years, since 1999, within 2 years, everything must have been fixed. That must be a miracle. I put my hand on here and say, be healed. And you are healed. It's not possible. It's not possible. Yes.
Honorable Minister, it's interesting that you mentioned
rehabilitation of schools.
Yeah.
They talk about more projects that are coming. Because like my colleague mentioned earlier, the criticism has been that you've been focusing or leaning on physical infrastructure, which you're doing laudable well. People have been, praising you for that, including connecting rural roads that have long been forgotten. However, when you mention school, I'm curious, perhaps you tell us more about some of these social development plans that you have beyond schools. Are there any?
I appreciate you just said here that people are not doing well in terms of rules or correcting rural rules. But have you also accepted, are you convinced that in terms of education, that we are doing something?
We don't know. That's
That is why.
That's we haven't done this.
The point I'm making is that I want to give a challenge to this, and I will please that the Mandate Secretary of Education will fund the logistics, and give you 1 month. Go to the rural areas and the city and see the schools that are being rehabilitated and furnished. The problem is because we didn't go to commission. If I've gone to commission, it would allow this question. Because for me, I thought, well, look, what am I going to, commission, innovated schools, furnished schools, for me it's not important. Also, in terms of the social development, in terms of the youth, we are seeing what we're doing in Yaya, the Youth Development Center. As we speak to you now, we're building 3 sports centers for our youth. One in, I think, one in Wawalada, and then 2 in the city here. So we're taking it, seriously, so that we know that once we are focused on this, we are done with this, we move to the next. It's not just to scratch, and let it be that at the end of the day, you scratch, nothing meaningful will come out of it. So these are things that we are doing. Maybe it is not possible. It's not possible for us to say, look, we want to wear a flag on for this project, we want to wear a commission on this project. It's not possible. We take what we think that, well, these are very, 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 very projects you spend billions of naira that people should see what you've done, But if the project where you're spending 1% billion and this and that, by the time we say we want to go and commission those projects, you will also ask, how much we commission everything? So I would think that it will help us by we providing logistics. You go with the Mandate Secretary of Education, Mandate Secretary of Social Development, and then go and see things on ground. We are not saying, and I continue to say that, I will not say that every problem has been solved, and all problems cannot be solved. Even if this government stays 20 years, no government can solve all problems. But government is solving problems that at least will help to improve the lives of the people. And that's what it's supposed to be.
Honorable Minister, that question on schools, she took right out of my mouth, because there is a follow-up, and perhaps after this program I can show you some pictures with regards to the state of some schools in the area councils.
Let me just answer that. Yes. This is the problem we have always said. How many schools do we have in FCT? How many schools do we have?
Okay. Well,
now, assuming we have about, say, 10,000 schools, assuming. You go and take 3 schools that are bad. The mischief makers. For example, these schools you are talking about that are bad, when did they become bad?
You haven't let me ask my question.
No,
Let us quickly ask the question.
Okay.
Perhaps you can put it in context.
Okay.
It's about the area councils, who are supposed to be responsible for primary education. Do they also have the mandate to build these primary schools? Are they directly under them? If they are, do they have the funds to do so, or are you intervening as
I will not answer why they have the funds. First of all, as everybody know, that primary school is the responsibility of local government councils or area councils.
Which aspect of it? That's the part of the question.
No, but what are they?
Is it the software, which is salaries of the teachers? Or building up the school?
No, the same. They cannot remove these antennas. It's not so. However, most of the schools that are being rehabilitated are being carried out by us. by the FCT. Because we believe that, yes, it is their responsibility. But again, if anything happens, nobody will talk about that. Just like when the teachers were on strike. Nobody was on strike. It is not FCT strike. But we thought that, look, teachers are on strike. What do we do? It is not that secondary school teachers are not on strike. People should have that in mind. The tertiary education under FCT, they're not on strike. People should know that. Now, when people say, they go and tell them to go to the gate of FCT, carry children, stay there, we're at home, to try to embarrass the government. I didn't talk. Because I don't know, let me say, because I know it's just blackmail. We have come to intervene severally. And what's the intervention? The funds they are having, they have said it's not enough. Remember, the increment in the minimum wage affected them. Now, if a local government or an area council, take for example, Ambassador is getting, maybe in a month, 300-something million for the allocation. And then he gets IGR, their own share of the 10% board play they get. Assuming they get like 2% billion, that 2% billion is shared among the 6 area council, but not on equal basis, based on your own contribution. So, assuming whoever gets additional 150 million naira, or 200 million, as the case may be, that adds to the 300, 500 million. What's the salary structure? What is the salary of the staff of Baba for teachers and local government staff? It's more than 500 million. Now, if you expend that, what other money do you have to carry out other services? That is why there's a problem in our federal system, where you go to the headquarters, to the capital, and negotiate for minimum wage for states and local government councils. What is the capacity of this area council or local government to be able to pay? And look at people and say, employ. It is sometimes madness when you say in FCT alone, we have over 55,000 workers. How do you justify it? 55,000 workers doing what? However, you can't take a step. That was all industrial crisis. But nobody talks about the funding. Where would this money come from? FCT area councils are not like other local governments where you have one for the oil produced states and what we only do is taxes. Remember, what comes to the FCT is 1% of the allocation of federal government. So if the federal government, for example, gets in a month 800 billion from the share of the inflation account, what they will pay to FCT is how much? 1% of 800 billion is how much? 8 billion.
So understanding, just a moment, just understanding the challenge that the area councils are facing, particularly in that area of education, because I can see that you're making some intervention efforts. Would you say that you would declare a state of emergency in the infrastructure around education, given just how decrepit and how long a battle
No. Declare a state of emergency to achieve what?
At least, will I say, decent infrastructure in the area
No, he didn't
of
declare.
primary education.
You see, that's why I quarrel.